So now that we've talked about aggregate operations at large, let's kind of zoom in and talk about what short-circuit aggregate operations are. And this will help you to understand these optimizations that can take place under certain circumstances. And it also helps explain why streams, the implementation of streams, processes things from top to bottom, left to right, rather than left to right, top to bottom. So remember, an aggregate operation, which we just talked about, may process all the elements in a stream, may do run to completion. So a good example of that would be the map operation, which will in fact process all the elements that it gets as the input stream and produce an output stream with the transformed, potentially transformed versions of those input stream elements. Unless, of course, an exception is thrown. So if an exception is thrown, then boom, we're going to jump out, and exceptions are handled wherever they're handled. Exceptions with streams aren't really any more tricky than normal exceptions. You just have to be aware that when you exit, it may pop out through several layers and jump outside the scope of the stream altogether. So we're going to ignore exceptions for the moment, but be aware that they can occur. Short-circuit operations, unlike exceptions, which are kind of unexpected, short-circuit operations halt in an expected way. And they halt when a certain condition is met or not met, depending on what kind of operation you're trying to do. So let's take a look at an example. There's one example called take while. Take while is a short-circuited intermediate operation that returns a stream consisting of a subset of elements taken from this stream that match a given predicate. So what it's basically saying is, while the predicate is met, take the elements from the input stream. But once the predicate is not met, stop and ignore all the other elements in the stream. So that's an example of take while. Another example is limit. We've seen limit a couple times now. Limit is a short-circuit intermediate operation that causes a stream to operate on a reduced size. So you say, as we saw before, I want the first 100 Fibonacci numbers. I want to generate 100 random or 50 random integers. So limit limits the amount of processing. And then there's a whole pile of terminal operations like find first, find any match, all match, and none match. And these are short-circuiting terminal operations that may finish before all the elements in the underlying stream are traversed. And I should also hasten to point out that for things like map, which process, quote, all the elements in the input stream, that is premised on the terminal operation being a run-to-completion terminal operation. If you have a short-circuiting terminal operation, then it can turn out that you don't process that map won't process all the elements in the stream either. So just be aware of that. So map will process all the elements in the stream unless there's a short-circuiting terminal operation, or of course, unless an exception is thrown. So that's a quick overview of the aggregate operations that short-circuit. Again, that's why Java processes things, Java Streams processes things from left to right, top to bottom. So it's pulling elements from the first item in the data source. And if for some reason short-circuit causes it to stop, we're done. Then it pulls the next item. If for some reason short-circuiting operations cause it to be finished, it's done. It doesn't do any extra work that would otherwise be wasted if we were to process all the elements in the stream from left to right first, and then process the next row from left to right. That would be opposed or at odds with what we want a short-circuit operation to be doing from an optimization point of view.